So we have a bit of breaking news here. Regis Prograis announces that he is retired from the sport of boxing. Now you can see, shout out to my boy Johnny Boy Boxing. You see right there, if you read the description, it says that Regis Prograis has told Ring Magazine that he's calling it a career after tonight's fight. Now that I step back into the frame, Regis Prograis has announced that he's retiring from boxing after his Conor Benn fight, and I really feel like it's time for him. He should have been retired probably about 2 fights ago. Um, he had a miraculous comeback, I feel like, when he picked up his second world title. And yeah, so the career of Regis Prograis is one that I've been very critical of. I feel like this guy, he should have he's a tough fighter. I'm not gonna disrespect him and say that he was a vagabond or anything like that, because he did compete at the highest level. He fought in the world boxing tournament, I think it was the 140-pound tournament that they had. I think it was 2017, 18. Correct me if I'm wrong. Losing to Josh Taylor, who eventually went on to become the undisputed champion at 140 pounds after Terrence Crawford relinquished the crown. And he went on after that tough loss to fight in a few tough fights. He tried to get the likes of Adrian Broner in the ring. He also tried to go out there. He called out Gervonta. He never got the fight with Jose Ramirez. That was the one fight that a lot of people were actually looking forward to, seeing if they could make. Who knows why? I had interviewed Jose Ramirez and asked why. He says because Regis was asking for ridiculous amounts of money, and that he just quite frankly didn't sell. So that could be a reason why you don't get a fight. So we got to see why what his next steps will be. Actually, we don't know what Regis's what his payday was today. I could always look it up later and give you guys that info if you wanted to. I'm not really a financial channel or into talking about boxers paydays or anything like that. But we never got to fight with him and Jose Ramirez, but we did get a fight with he and Devin Haney. I think that's where the decline kind of set in. He wasn't a tough bout before that, where he got a knockout victory over William Zepeda, or is it Jose Zepeda? One of the Zepedas. He knocked him out, picked up his second championship, fought Devin Haney in his backyard, lost a one-sided fight, and it seems as if he was on the road to probably trying to get a championship back. He had a fight in the UK again, and called a retirement then, right? So I think this is his third time retiring, because I think he kind of flirted with the idea of retirement against Devin Haney, said he was going to go into MMA. Then he definitely retired after the fight in the UK, came back. I think he had a victory. I was shocked to find out that he was fighting this fight against Conor Benn, but it was at a bigger weight class, a higher weight class, thinking that maybe if he had moved up, he would feel a lot better. He did look good at certain points in the fight, but you could just tell that his legs were out from up under him, and that he wasn't the same fighter anymore. Listen, 37 is an age for you to be a boxer. It's a tough age at those types of weight classes to compete with guys who are more young, who are more explosive, younger, and get at it. Especially when you've been in a lot of wars. When you're used to brawling and being in tough fights, especially fights that he's been in. I mean, he was in a war with Josh Taylor. Tonight he was in a really tough fight that was ugly. When you've been in those types of fights in your career, especially when you do a lot of traveling overseas and you don't really, the altitude and the traveling back and forth. He's been overseas. It's crazy that he ends his career over there, because one of the biggest fights of his career that he actually lost was overseas. 3 of his biggest fights actually were overseas where he's lost. So that takes a toll on you as well. Now that you think about it, it makes sense that he's retiring. I think that Regis Prograis, to kind of sum it up, I feel like he should have moved up to welterweight when the iron was super hot, which was probably 6 years ago. Around the time when Terrence Crawford had a belt, had that single WBO belt, when Errol Spence had the IBF belt. Sorry, Keith Thurman was in the mix. Danny Garcia, Sean Porter. There was a lot of work there for him. Even outside the champions, you had the guys like Ugas, who could have been beat. You had he tried to get the AB fight, like I said. Manny Pacquiao was there. There, Kell Brooks, those types of guys. He should have been in the mix at that point, even though Kell Brooks was dancing back and forth. He lost to Earl, so chill out when it comes to trying to crucify me. But there was a lot of work for him to go get, especially on the PBC side of things. He was working with Al Heyman at a point, and I know he was working with a few of the smaller promoters that were associated with PBC. So I don't know why he went the route that he went. I'm pretty sure he was probably chasing a Josh Taylor rematch, thinking that that could be a lane and an avenue for him later on down the line, but it just never came to fruition. And I feel like even after Josh Taylor did come back, it made no sense for him to stay at 140. He was quoted saying that he wanted to be at the 140-pound division for the rest of his career. And that was, I don't think that was the wisest business decision, because 140-pound, for the most part, it was never a money division. It still isn't a money division right now. If you look at the landscape there, outside of guys like Keyshawn Davis, there really isn't anything there to where you would say, oh, I want to go to Vegas to see this championship fight at 140 pounds. Welterweight is where it's at. He should have been a welterweight. I feel like had this been a retirement fight against the likes of a Ryan Garcia, he had already fought a Devin Haney. Even him in a Rolly fight, at least you know what you would have got, action-packed fight. And I also feel like Regis Prograis was a guy that could have been in the mix to fight a Gervonta Davis at some point, but at a higher weight class. Him at 35 squeezing down, or 140 wouldn't have made any type of sense, to be honest. But, good luck to him. Had a great career. Not too many fighters can claw their ways out of his situation. Losing in that tournament, I think it was the World Series of Boxing or something like that, or not the World Series of Boxing, but the World Boxing Tournament, something with World in it, and to come back and be a champion. So good luck to him in the future, and let me know what you guys think. Do you think Regis Prograis is a Hall of Famer? I'm not too sure. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer, but you guys let me know what you think. Peace.